Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Open Discussion with C3 Films. My name is Chris, and this is.
Cheryl.
And today we are going to be talking about the Netflix show, The Umbrella Academy. So it came out a little while ago. It already had 2 seasons, and season 3 has been confirmed to be on the way soon. So if you haven't seen it, we are going into spoiler territory. Make sure you go and watch it on Netflix. We're only talking about the first episode, but there's a chance that we might go into spoilers for the entire 2 seasons. So just keep that in mind. So after you're done, come back and watch it and watch us talk about it. But let's go ahead and jump right into this. So the Umbrella Academy, we decided to watch it because we wanted to talk about it, but it was also kind of like the extra thing that we wanted to talk about because we had other things that we had to do, and we wanted to talk about something that we have at least already seen before, so we wouldn't have to pay as much attention because we already had the knowledge, right? And the interesting thing about this first episode is that even though I knew that I wanted to be working while watching the episode, there were times because of how good the episode is, I just found myself just watching the episode.
Yeah, and I kind of had it on in the background a little bit as well. And then I let it go because it's really hard to only watch one episode. And if I didn't have other things to do, I probably would have just binged it all over again because it's it's not necessarily like funny. I would not say that it's funny, although there are some comedic moments. Um, I think the thing that like really reels you in is the mystery, the kind of fantastical part of it, because it's basically like the main characters have superpowers, but there's also a lot of questions that are set up that you want answered. And like, even though we kind of know the answers already, since we've already seen it, it's still just fun to like watch their journey and how to get there. And there's so much going on. I'm surprised that watching it the first time, I wasn't confused because of how much information you get just in that first episode.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing about the first episode is that, like you said, there you get so much information, and there's a lot of information that is told through what is shown to you. The entire beginning of that, like after they have the initial monologue of just letting you know what's happening with like all the kids that are born and everything else like that, after that, and when we're getting to meet and like kind of know who all the kids are, it's all without dialogue. It's done to Vanya playing, I think Mozart or whatever,
Phantom of
and
the Opera.
oh, Phantom of the Opera. Thank you. Yes, playing Phantom of the Opera, and we're meeting all the characters, and it's like you slowly get to know who everybody is just based off of like what you're seeing. And there's not like there's a little bit of dialogue, but it's not like so much talking and everything, and or even exposition. But by the end of that montage, you have a good sense of who everybody is, and that is what's like one of the cool things about this episode. But then, like you said, there's other mysteries that they add to it where they also they don't tell you, they show you. So you see their mother, who is wearing something that you would be like, that seems odd to wear in modern day, and she also looks kind of young, but okay, whatever. And then they do a flashback, and you see the mother, and she looks exactly the same, and they don't really talk about it. They just do it, and it's up to you to kind of figure it out and be like, wait a second, there's something off about her. And then through some of the dialogue, they say, oh, she just needs to recharge and things like that, and she seems kind of off. And then by the end of the episode, you see that she's a robot, but the entire episode doesn't like it goes through the entire episode without telling you, but kind of just showing you that she's a little different. And I really like that about this first episode because there's things like that are just kind of peppered in the entirety of it. Even with Ben, they show the pictures, and in the pictures, the kids slowly start to disappear, and you don't know what happened to them, but you can tell that something happened to them. So it's a very strong like pilot episode for a show.
And then they even just have stuff like, that Diego was mad at Vanya for something. So
Oh yeah.
then we're like, okay, why is he mad at her? And then there's also the whole thing about their father and like, did he was he murdered or not? And then I may have watched too far. I'm not sure. But we know that number one was suspecting that one of them may have killed their father, and then Diego's really mad, and then he was like, "I'm just gonna go kill mom," and I was gonna like that's like a casual thing, like, "Oh, I'm gonna go get lunch." I'm gonna go kill mom. Um, but yeah, and you're right. There's just so many things that like they just don't outwardly say. Everything is a picture painted for you. Like they never once say that that mom is a robot. They never use the word robot
Nope.
or anything like that. And then you have Pogo, and you're like, how come there's a talking monkey who is acting like a father figure? Like, so their
Right?
mom is a robot, and their other dad is a monkey, and their actual scientist dad is a like I don't know, Thomas Wayne.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, and but I like it because they don't like question it, right? You would think that if you come into a story about a family that's been together for at this point of the story it's like 30 years or something, they're all like 30 years old. Like, of course they're already going to have these interactions and these understandings with each other. So I like it when stories kind of do that. Yeah, there's a talking monkey. It's not for us to like, they're not trying to explain to us why it's there. We will figure it out, but this is their life. We're coming in after it's been going on for a long, long time. So yeah, we treat it as normal. But as a viewer, you're looking at it and you're like, this is weird. Why is this so weird? But you get answers, and they don't necessarily come quick while you're watching it, but you do get them. And even with the fact that like I said, like the visual storytelling is just so cool, because the other thing about the picture frames is that there's only ever 6 kids, and there's a max of 6 kids in the photo, no more than 6. But there's 7 of them. So you're kind of like, wait, why aren't all 7 of them there? And then it slowly decreases until there's only 4. But there are 5 of them that you actively see. And you don't really get why that is, and until you get a flashback where their dad basically tells Vanya that you're not special and you have no powers. But even then, once again, knowing what we know now, there's a moment when he's watching them while they all sleep, and it cuts to Vanya, and the signals that he's getting are like going really, really high, and he just kind of observes, and then he writes some things down. But it's interesting because apparently she doesn't have powers, right? But the moment that they show you that, the first cut that they do is to her taking the pills. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like when you're watching it for the first time, you don't know what that is. You don't know why they made that cut. But when you watch it the second time, they're giving you the answer of who she is and what's being done to her by her father. So I mean, yeah, it's really strong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the other crazy thing is, I believe we find out that the world ends in like 8 days in the first episode, right? So you
Yeah, at
have,
the end of the first episode.
yeah, so you have all this, like, I almost feel like there's like, how did all of that fit in one episode? And I think the reason why is because of how many visual details that they give to us, and they built all these relationships together, just like based on conversations that they were having with each other and things that were happening between each other, as opposed to like, having to do all this setup. But the setup was like really quick, and then we had even the flashbacks helped define like who they all are. We get to see I think almost all of them at the beginning, all the ones that are still around, and then I think the only ones we don't see are 5 and 6,
Yeah.
for a reason. And then when you do meet Five, that's when it gets really interesting because he had been missing for so long, and then we find out that he's actually like 58-year-old man or something. And that kid is a really good, he's such a fantastic actor. Like, I really believe it. I really buy it that he is a 58-year-old man trapped in a child's body.
Yeah, anytime he talks and when he the way he carries himself with such confidence, he feels like the oldest one of the group, even though in reality he is the youngest actor within the group. But he holds his own, and it's amazing to see him. And then he does a lot of action sequences too, and he pulls that off pretty well as well. Like the character of Fives is a character who has been trained as an assassin for an indescribable amount of time because of how the whole time thing works. So yeah, and but that reveal when you get to see what he can actually do when he single-handedly takes out a militia of armed men is an awesome scene. Once again, like the action as well. Like you get this story that has like intrigue, family drama, mystery, and then they also show you, oh, don't worry, we can do action sequences too, with like some fun music. So all of these elements just really come together to make something that feels fun to watch, and it's cool to see because not of all of Netflix's superhero shows are of the same quality of this. This isn't the only kind of superhero show that Netflix has tried to do. Not even the only like comic based show that Netflix has tried to do, like of a family with powers. But this one arguably is the most effective. And it's probably because of the source material being so good, but also I think it's just because for whatever reason, they just were able to find a way to execute this particular plot with such grace and with yeah, with just and great actors.
Right. Did you, by the way, read the actual I think it's a graphic novel?
Yes, I did. I read the first two volumes.
And so I'm guessing that it was really good.
Oh, yeah, the graphic novel is great. There are some things though that I actually think that the show does better than the graphic novel. The In the graphic novel, spoilers for the graphic novel, by the way, um, Vanya is not treated in the end with as much love and reverence from her family. Um, we said we might be talking about the whole series, but like one of the biggest changes with the graphic novel is that when Vanya goes nuts, Allison actually shoots Vanya in the head, and it doesn't kill her, but it puts her in a coma. But in the show, Allison makes the choice not to do that. She makes the choice not to kill her sister, and I think that that's a more powerful choice because of the fact that a lot of that relationship was about how they can be sisters together as the only two women in a family of seven siblings, and how they can like try to take care of each other. So having Allison make a choice to not shoot her sister is a stronger motivation and growth for them as a relationship than in the comic where she has no problem, and none of them have problems taking their sister down. They're like, our sister's a problem, take her out, and that doesn't feel as good for a group of people that are supposed to be family.
Yeah, and they start off the show with, the family drama. Everyone has a problem with each other. They're forced to kind of come together because of their father's death, and that's basically how they sort of open the show. I mean, they open the show with something else, actually. That's just an explanation of how the family came together, how the
Mm-hmm.
family came to be, and then now they're being brought together because of the death of their father. And in that one, like, opening of them coming together, you're finding out that, they've kind of been estranged for 13 years and that they don't all get along. Like I mentioned earlier, Diego's mad at Vanya, and I mean, Diego's kind of mad at everybody, I guess. So he has a problem with everyone except mom. And yeah, so I mean, I do remember the scene between Allison and Vanya, and how Vanya was surprised that Allison was like giving her a hug and everything, because she was expecting, everyone to still be angry with her and such. So I imagine that it would make sense that the season would end with them coming together and them, working together as a team, because that's usually how these things go. You present everything in one way, and then by the end, everything changes. It's the opposite of the beginning, right?
Right. Absolutely. And this episode also had a special treat for me because I love the scene where they're all dancing in the house. I thought that that was later on in the season. I did not realize that they gave us that glorious awesomeness in the first episode. And it's a little thing. It's kooky and it fits with like the tone of the actual show, but you see even Diego, like Vanya's in the next room beside him, and you see him go and close the door so that he can go and like just dance on his own. And you see them; they all have like their personalities come out through also how they choose to express themselves and dance. And like, it's not like they're all like great dancers. They're not doing like amazing dance moves outside of maybe Allison, who seems to be the one with the most rhythm, but like they're all just kind of enjoying themselves and letting the music like overflow and take them. And even though they're all in separate rooms of the house, they're a family that's dancing together to one song. And so I really like that. And then that shot, it doesn't last that long where they come out and it's the you know kind of bad CG, but it is what it is, of like just the cross section of the house where you see everybody in their rooms and they're all like dancing and having a good time. Like, it's not like a crazy great scene. It's not a scene that you even necessarily needed, but I like it, and it adds a lot of charm to the first episode. And that's what I'm just saying. Like, the way this first episode is built, there's just so much that goes into um, pulling the viewer in, whether it's visual or aesthetic or the story or the characters. Like, there's just so much, and that's one of my favorite things that we were able to get from the first episode.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely felt weird to me the first time I watched it. But it's also one of the things that I remembered the most. I was like, oh, it's gonna happen in this first episode, because I was starting to realize that they're all in their places, their respective places, and I was like, oh, I think they're about to do that dance now, and then we get to see the cool like kind of dollhouse
Yep.
view of the mansion. And then it was like, why are they all dancing again? Was it something that happened, like where they were all like being mind controlled or something, and then they realized that, like, oh, this is weird, why are we dancing? Did it happen to you too? And I can't remember if that's a thing or not. If I don't,
It's
it's
not.
not a thing. I'm making up some other show. um, but it definitely was like really memorable. It's like, if I would remember anything about Umbrella Academy, it's that one scene, and the guy with the goldfish bowl head, which I think doesn't even come in for quite a while.
Not for a
Yeah.
while. I think he is in the first season, but yeah, it doesn't show up for a while. And then and even like characters like Klaus immediately become endearing to you. Klaus is annoying at times and can be so grating, but there's also a charm to Klaus. I've seen that actor in a British television show also where he had superpowers. He was a little younger, and he was still kind of the same kind of character. He wasn't as kooky, but he was still like similar. But I like him. Like, I think they did a really good job of casting with these characters, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think Klaus is my favorite character. Um, but I think the kid who plays Five is the best actor, the best
Oh my
acting.
gosh,
Yeah.
hands hands freaking down. So like you said, when they end the episode, they end it with the whole deal that in 8 days the world's going to end. And so now we also have a way where the first episode also tells us what the rest of the show is going to be about. However we get there, it's about preventing the apocalypse in 8 days, and also trying to figure out how the apocalypse happens at all, who causes it, which we know because we finished the show.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that is, I mean, if I was going to point to a pilot that I think does that checks all the boxes for hooking an audience and letting us introducing us to your characters and letting us get acquainted with your world, it's that. We even get flashbacks of them as kids acting as superheroes. Like, you come into this story where they've actually already been superheroes. They were child superheroes, and then now they're adults, and some of them have moved on, but others have like tried to still be superheroes, and they've gotten a certain amount of fame because of it. They even show images from the comic book on like one of the walls, because like in this world they got their own comic, and the comic that they got is the comic that we read in real life. So it's great. Like, it's an established world and you feel like it's lived in, and it makes it exciting to see what else this world has to offer.
Yeah, it's definitely unique. I don't know if quirky is the right word because I don't exactly feel like it's quirky. I also feel like it's normal. Like it's a
Mm-hmm.
real world setting, but there's some like weird stuff going on. And that's and you know they kind of explained it. I know we find out about Pogo later, um, and then I don't know. I guess the other interesting thing, besides like the powers, is or like a cool thing that I felt is that like we get when we see the flashbacks, it's the same kid for five, but when Klaus talks to Ben, he's also a kid because that's when he died, and so we kind of get to see like the adult and the younger versions of everyone else, but then five and six are always the same. So,
Oh, not necessarily. Remember, at the end of the episode, it's Ben is played by another person that's like in their late 20s, early 30s. He's sitting in the back of the van with Klaus at the end of the episode when they're in Diego's car.
oh, he grows up.
Yeah, yeah. He didn't die as a kid. He died while Fives was gone.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Scratch that. It's cool about the thing what I said for five, but not for six, because that's not true.
Yeah.
I was. You can tell how closely I was paying attention while watching it.
No, it's all good. It's all good. One other thing that I thought was interesting, just as a kind of just a nice thing that I didn't realize Netflix did, but did you watch the opening credits? Like, when the credits come up, did you watch how like all the names as they came up?
Yeah, they changed it to Elliot Page, and
This they did.
yes, that and I'm kind of excited for the next season whenever it's coming out. But I know that they are going to have Elliot be like play um, a male character and not go back to being a female character. So I don't know how they're gonna do it. I'm sure it's easy enough because spoiler for the other seasons, there's time travel involved, and when there's time travel involved, sometimes that changes history, and so I feel like that's probably how they're gonna pull it off. Is they're probably gonna explain it away in that way where Vanya ends up not coming back as a female but as a male. So I'm kind of excited to see that. But I'm kind of also bummed that then Allison is going to be the
The
only
only female
female.
character.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at least in season two, they added in the eighth child. If you not sure if you remember, but I don't remember the character's name, but it was the one that Diego ended up being into, and she was like an assassin or something that worked for the company too, and they find out that she's also one of the kids, so she also has power. So there's a good chance that she might become like another sister in that way. So at least within Allison won't be the only one anymore if they choose to integrate that character within the regular family some more. So there is that option.
And then later we'll meet Kate Walsh's character. I really like her, and I think she does an amazing job in this show. I've seen her in Grey's Anatomy, and she's been in some other. I think she plays the mom of the kid who died in 13 Reasons Why. It was very brief, I think. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I've seen her in a couple things. So getting to see her play this kind of character is very different than what she like usually does, but I love it. I think she does a great job.
No, for sure. No, I like her too. She is a another very strong role, strong person in a cast of like strong actors and things like that. So, yeah, 100%. But yeah, that's that's all of my major points that I wanted to hit for this show. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on that we didn't get to talk about?
Just real quick, I wanted to kind of bring up. You mentioned that Vanya was playing the violin
Hmm.
over, introducing everyone, which I didn't really notice it too much the first time. I mean, I noticed it because Phantom of the Opera is my favorite musical, so I knew like right away. But I was just enjoying it and having a good time. But now that I'm thinking about it, I asked myself, why did they choose that song? And and I think the reason why is probably because we were also kind of getting to know how weird they all are in the sense of they have superpowers, right? So they're
Right.
like they're not normal people, and neither was the Phantom. So I thought, and he's known for being like a deformed guy, and in a sense, like these are in a sense deformed people, so who are like hiding from the world. So I thought that it was quite suiting.
Yeah, that makes sense. It also works on another level because when we meet everybody, we're seeing them and their powers expressed in some kind of way. For the most part, I don't think we see Klaus's powers, but the fact is that the violin is very much tied to Vanya's powers and who she is, despite the fact that they say that she has no powers. So the fact that she's playing the violin is important, but the fact that she's actually playing, being Phantom of the Opera, also is important because of what you just said.
Yeah, it's always the not special ones who are special, like
Absolutely.
like in Encanto.
Yeah, except in Encanto, she actually didn't have powers, while Vanya, they were just lying.
Right.
So, but yeah, that's what we thought about. That's what we thought about the Umbrella Academy, the first episode. We've seen the entire 2 seasons on our own time. We love it. We can't wait to see season 3. What about you guys? Like, are you guys looking forward to season 3? Are you looking forward to seeing what they do with the story and the characters and this whole crazy time traveling shenanigans? What have you thought about it? Comment below. Let us know. And while you're down there, if you give us a like, share, and subscribe. Even if you don't, though, I have been Chris, and this has been
Cheryl, and we'll see you all next time.